Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, this week's video has to do with failures and challenges when it comes to starting an online business using social media as a leverage point to grow and scale your business. So we have a list of questions here, and I'm going to ask you, Vincent. The first one, right, is that, share with me what you think is the biggest reason people fail to build a successful YouTube channel. Now, I want to be very clear here that we are, people measure, success of YouTube usually in the form of subscribers and likes. That's not how we usually define it. Basically, we define it as, does the YouTube channel actually brings in business and money for you? That's very clear. So, like in your experience, having run your own business on YouTube, on social media, but specifically for YouTube, what's the big challenge typically?
I think the big challenge that a lot of business owners have is that they're too focused on trying to achieve that immediate success. And I think a lot of business owners have to admit it and accept the fact that if they want to go into YouTube, TikTok, all these are content-driven approaches. And content-driven approaches typically take quite some time to grow and to build. So it means that you have to invest in the infrastructure and resources to come up with content very relevant to the business. And that doesn't really, the results doesn't come in instantaneously. So I think a lot of business owners, they have this impatience, and that's why they will want to commit. They get themselves into trying things out, but they don't eventually follow through. So the long-term game is not something that I think a lot of business owners are ready. But if you talk about like having the results of the influencers or the YouTubers, is something that a lot of business owners want. But they are not quite ready to do exactly the same. So they only want to do ads and hope for all this ROI to come in immediately. So the biggest failures I see that a lot of business owners have is that they're not willing to just commit and go with it and really see and learn as you go. And how do you actually turn those people coming into your channel, viewing content, and then following the funnel? So I would say that's the big one.
Right. Before we move on to the next question, I just want to add my point, which is that there's a focus for a lot of new business owners online on the vanity metrics. So this would be your likes, comments, subscribers, and things like that. And to be fair, they are important in some regards. And it's okay to generate that sort of vanity metrics. The challenge is not so much to build that, but to convert that. When you create the content, are you creating content that not just draws eyeballs or controversial or whatever, but to get them to actually pay you money? And to do that, you actually have to focus on really, really solving a pain point that they have. I still remember there's this creator on YouTube called George Setiawan. He is based in America or Canada, I can't remember. But he was in the niche, or rather, maybe I just explain to you this first. He had only 700 over subscribers. But he revealed that he was already earning 25 to 30,000 US dollars a month. How did he do it? Now, his specialization, his content, which only generated few hundred views per video, was targeted at people who were going through breakups. And more specifically, how girls go through breakups. So it's a very specific problem. So most girls, a lot of girls will watch the video. Then, I have a pain point. Obviously, I just broke up. How do I actually heal? How do I forgive the other person? How do I move on and not let it, not let me keep a grudge? And they'll pay money for that. If you help me remove this internal suffering, I'll gladly pay money. So that's the first question. Now, the second one is, I think a lot of people create content and it's failing to attract the kind of target audience or the kind of viewers that they want to attract. What would you say is the reason why, and maybe introduce to us your solution?
Well, I think if you want to target to specific audience, you have to find that specific niche. Now, your business is, most of us, our business is of course already having a niche in mind, and we're already having a target audience in mind. But having said that, it doesn't mean that the niche that you will find online will be the same. So meaning to say that you could be creating videos based on whatever problems that you're solving, but those problems are not necessarily the kind of problems that people are looking for on the internet, or maybe it's not even the same type of keywords. So there is a testing period, and sometimes this testing period could be long, sometimes it could be short. So yes, we have heard of like stories about how people created a channel and they don't have a lot of views and subscribers. They could be doing something else behind the scenes that we don't know, right? So for those who are really successful, if you see like big channels that we talk about, Vanessa Lau is focusing on helping coaches to develop their own coaching programs and the marketing and so on. But I remember a time that she wasn't really focusing on that. It's because she haven't got to that niche yet. So she started finding clients that are like whoever that is on board her channel. But those people aren't necessarily the audiences that she wants, the people that she's really selling to. So for those who are business owners who are trying to like find your niche, you have to try a lot of different keywords, experiment with a lot of different type of content, and find and see whether are those content having people come in and having the responses that you want. So to do that, again, you have to be patient and just try from a lot of angle. You'll see a lot of YouTube channels before they find their successes. Like for example, do you realize that a lot of YouTube channels, they only make the same type of video? And to get to there, they have to go through a long, extensive period in finding what works. And once you find the number that hit well for one, that's when you double it down.
Fair enough. There's really not much I can add to your answer, except that sometimes even if people know their niche, sometimes people know their target audience. I think that alone is sufficient. But if they want to add on maybe a little bit of a booster, is to really understand the platform that they're on. So I'll just bring two into mind, YouTube and TikTok. I haven't had as much success on TikTok as I have with YouTube. But recently, it has been getting a little bit of traction, right? I think we recently hit only 1,000 plus. But that was being stuck at, 300-400 for a very long time. And suddenly we boom. Mini boom, rather. Like knowing your platform is very good. Because let's say if you already have the right message and the right niche, you understand how they works is very important. So like YouTube, for example, you want to try to get your YouTube videos above 10 minutes. So that YouTube can put 2 ads there and then they will recommend your videos more. And of course, when you edit the videos for YouTube, because it's generally long form content, more than 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes kind of stuff, you want to introduce attention reset. So every 10 to 15 seconds, you want to make sure that your video changes a little bit in terms of the visuals, the audios, camera angles, things like that. And then of course for TikTok, it's short form content. Right, so if you can't get the viewer interested in what you have to say in the first 3 seconds, you've lost the battle. So knowing all of this can really, push your content to the next level and, attract the kind of audience that you want to attract.
So if you're thinking of having 1,000 subscribers for your business, then download our free guidebook. Link is down in the description below.
Okay, third question. This is more for people who have already put in some of the work. And when people start off, they already have some sort of inventory of ideas or videos that they want to do. They're excited to start and all that. Now, what ends up happening, and depending on the niche, that will determine how fast they will experience this. But at some point, they will realize, okay, I'm running out of content. Right? And so the question they will have to think is, okay, how do I come up with new content, especially, and typically this is for people who are a bit stuck. So what would you say to those people?
I think content ideas work in a pattern. If you have to create a content and you're relying on your creativity to come up the next big thing, you're definitely going to run dry very quickly and you're going to be very exhausted because for those people who are not used to creating content, they may think creating content is the same way of creating an advertisement. So they put all their efforts, they put all their creative juice in creating one big video and the second big video and third big video, and then they realize that, wow, I'm running dry, is because they are seeing creating content, whether if it's on TikTok, LinkedIn, all these kind of places, they're seeing it as how they need to create the next big thing, and it doesn't quite work like that. So the mindset in creating content is really just taking something really simple that your audience may be asking, just one particular thing, and create the next video based on the same pattern, but another what do you call that? But another variable. So you could have something like, how do you do this with A? How do you do this with B? That's a lot of. Let's talk about gaming, right? Gaming, for example, is a huge content topic, and you see a lot of gamers. They are making videos just something like, I do this. I try to win this challenge, but using this weapon. I try to win this, but try to use this obstacle. And it's the same thing with business, whereby wedding, for example, how do you plan a wedding when you have this problem? How do you plan a wedding when you have that problem? How do you fit into a wedding dress when you're short? How do you fit in a wedding dress when you're tall? So it's just taking those small little things because and turning it into content. And what they need to know is that they don't have to create content that are 15 minutes long in the beginning.
Yes.
Yes, best practice is that you want to create something that's more than 8 to 10 minutes, hopefully to get the watch time better. But the problem with seeing those kind of YouTube videos is that they don't know that those are the advisors you follow when you are somewhat there, when you have an audience or something like that. But when you're new, you want to create bite size. 60 seconds is worth it to help you to test and find one of the things that work for you.
So I think those are great points, and the only thing that I want to add is that you should seek a second opinion. So I think most creators start off solo, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you do things solo, sometimes you're kind of stuck in your own head. And what would really help is if you get to talk to someone, to bounce ideas off, to brainstorm, even things like, asking your viewers, literally, like for my channel, we will ask people, what would they like to see? And they'll ask, hey, why don't you review this? And say, oh, okay, that's interesting. Let's review that, right? That's a video. And the second point I want to add is that YouTube or even social media is really not a place for perfectionists.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that if you have a perfectionist mindset or that you shouldn't do. What it means is you need to tone it down a little bit. Perfectionists can do really well on social media because the quality that they produce tend to be pretty high, right? But the flip side is that because they're so much of a perfectionist, they will consider a lot of videos that would suit as content to be unworthy of being uploaded. I know a lot of content creator friends who have 6-7 videos in the pipeline, but they don't want to release it because it's not nice or it's not perfect or whatever. And it's such a waste, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And that kind of ties into your earlier point where something as simple as I do this trying X. I try to do this with Y problem. Something very simple. And that's all you need. Okay, next one. This is a short one. How do you optimize your videos? Why is it important?
Right. There's this one thing that I used to tell brands, and that is when you want to go into social media, it's not about how social media can fit your brand agenda, how social media can fit your branding guidelines. And you see this often with a lot of big companies, right? They have their branding guidelines and their visual identity, and they will try to create like really non-conforming social media styles of posts that is with their watermark, and wondering why are the engagement so bad. So optimization is basically just speaking the language of social media. So instead of thinking how social media can fit your brand, you must think how does brand fit social media. And that includes like thinking about best practices. For example, video best practices is that if you're doing short, you want to come up with a good headline. All right, you want to come out, you want to say something, or you want to clip the videos in a way that retains your attention. So like what you said, attention resets, right?
How about SEO?
SEO itself, okay, so right, you want to just basically find keywords and put it into your blogs or your website so that people can look for you. There's this one saying that if you're doing an ad that based on keywords that nobody is searching for, your ad is not going to reach out to people. So it's the same thing. You don't want to be making content, but the content doesn't actually shoot out to people because no one is searching for it. So now you may have fun for business owners, you may have fun in creating your content, but at the end of the day, the content is just basically icing on the cake. It's just an opportunity for you to have a reason to optimize your content to reach out to people. So that includes like thumbnails, your keywords, your hashtags, the way you work on a thing, how do you read your data. So it's the real skill on running business with your content.
Yeah, I don't think there's much for me to add. Okay, next question. Now, this is for people who have been doing it for a while already, and that is seeing their subscriber base and their engagement falling. What advice and how have you coped with this sort of things? I'm sure it has happened to you before.
Yeah, it's a running business is an up and down journey.
Yes.
Irregardless of content marketing, you feel ups and downs every now and then. It could be something that you feel excited just because you heard someone say it works and you're going to try and you feel like really good. And then as soon as you work on it, you realize that there is a waiting period. And then you feel like shit again. You feel like down and you don't know, you're looking for the next high again. So content is where sometimes it's seasonal, especially when you are new and you start seeing the numbers coming in and you feel like, wow, it's working. All right, something's working. I just need to figure out the next step to then bring them into the funnel, right? But after a while, there's going to be maybe some fatigue. Let's face it, people who watch YouTube, which is practically anybody,
Yes,
you don't really stay engaged in a channel for with a channel for more than maybe say 2 to 6 months. At first you found a channel, you might consume it actively, but after a while, you're just gonna let it be in your subscriber list, and that's it. So you have to think as how do you always find new audience and rely on other channels to keep your warm leads actively engaging with you. So just keep on finding new audiences and don't think of content as something that you is a place where you always have to have high numbers, because the high numbers will eventually have to go somewhere, and that's where the real numbers are supposed to work for you.
Yeah, I think it's very linked to, I think a channel is quite similar to a business where if you don't innovate, then that's when you start to see dwindling numbers, right? So the only thing I would say is that you need to have what Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, say, you need to have a day one mentality. You have to imagine yourself like this is the day one of setting up your channel or your business. What would you do if it was day one? Part of the reason why people fail to, the fancy word is pivot, right? When they see numbers dwindling and all that, is because they usually come with some sort of baggage, right? Of I've had this experience, this didn't work, that didn't work, but they don't realize that sometimes certain things didn't work because that particular condition didn't allow it to work. So I give you a specific case study, right? So we also experience viewership drop, subscriber growth dropping, and things like that. But then one thing that has really helped our business so far is IPO companies, right? So we will usually do YouTube videos on specific companies, and they will get a lot of traction, but then it started to die off. So if we use history as an example, then we are thinking, specific company analysis videos are not very good. If we took that mindset, we would have never started doing IPO companies, because IPO companies are pretty much the same thing. It's just that they are new companies rather than existing companies. So that has helped us a little bit, right? So yeah, really just to summarize my point is you got a day one. Imagine this is day one, and don't let historical baggage affect you. Now guys, before we move on, just to let you know, we have a mentorship program where you can apply to and work with us so that we can guide you how to build a business on social media. If that's something for you, go ahead and apply. Links are in the description and the comments. Okay, so just a couple more questions. The next one would be collaboration with other YouTubers and brand promotion. What is your thinking and philosophy behind this, working with other people and brands?
Well, working with other people is, it's a form of trying to attract each other's audience to get to know you. So if you are thinking of doing that with the fellow other related businesses online, then You may feel intimidated to want to work with others, especially if you feel that you have nothing. But there are a lot of like-minded businesses that exist on every level, and you are part of them. So meaning to say that, let's just say, of course, the goal is to work with others. But if you feel you're not good enough, just look into businesses who are at your level. They are going to be very happy and keen to work together with you, and that is where you can create content together, partner together, and your audiences will then overlap. All right, there will be a spillover, and as you have that spillover, you will then elevate yourself, ready for the next one. The next thing you know, you want to have a community of people who are willing to work with you. And you don't have to find like a lot of businesses, find new partners to work with all the time. You just need a handful of really good partners that will stick together with you, form a community, and together with that, you will reach out to more audiences together. So it's definitely something that is recommended. You don't want to just do it alone. Yeah, you just want to go somewhere. Like, for example, like the podcast community. Right? Shout out to the podcast community that we have ongoing. We have a lot of independent podcasters that are around, and they start going to each other's episode to become a guest, and people start knowing each other, and that's where opportunities will arise.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I believe that the word collaborate is not the word I would use. The reason is because collaboration is typically short term in nature, and then there's nothing wrong, right? If you just want to appear on a video, someone else's video, and then they appear on your videos, that's fine. But I would much prefer to think of it as a partnership where it's not just one video, right? It's hopefully forever, right? So if you frame it that way, what happens is that now the questions you ask will be very different. It's no more, oh, does this guy have a huge following or whatever. It's, okay, like, can I work with this guy? You know, and then follow-up question would be, well, what does working well with someone mean? I.e., what are the values and things like that. So I've worked with a lot of people in the space where on paper they're really good, big channels bigger than mine, but their values are, in my view, haywire, right? You can't, it's very hard to work with them for various reasons. So that'd be one. Now, the question is influencers or YouTubers, other personalities and brands, right? So brands are a little bit different because you're typically dealing with a corporation. And I would say that with corporations that have their own products, services, and agendas, I always believe that I will only promote a brand under two conditions. And all the brands who have approached me know this. The first one is if I use it, if I'm a user, then only I promote, because I have to remember that I'm responsible to my audience. And if I promote something that I don't use, then how trustworthy am I? I know a lot of people in the space, fellow creators, who will promote stuff that I know they don't use at all, but they promote it because they get an affiliate fee or whatnot.
Yep.
That's the first condition. The second condition is if they allow me to say whatever I want to say in the promotion. So if I am able to include negative components into this promotion and you pay me for it, I said, yes, no problem.
Hey, if you enjoyed this video so far, I'm sure you have some thoughts that is brewing in your mind. Let us know in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe to this channel and this video, and let's move on.
Okay, so last question is actually traffic to the website or online store. So if you're a business owner, the big difference between just a YouTuber and someone who actually starts a business using YouTube is you need a storefront, right? You need to direct people or traffic into that storefront, no different from a restaurant, right? They need traffic walking into the restaurant, and an online business is exactly the same. So how, would you, or what advice would you give to someone when they see that, traffic is dropping and they really need to do something about it?
Right. Well, when traffic will definitely go up and down. It's part of everyday business. So if it's going down, of course, you want to think about like new methods on how to bring in, and you can just do a quick search. Just check out what are some of the methods are working, and you will have to try. But that is all the things that are focusing on the short. So in marketing, there's this thing where you focus on the long or you focus on the short. The short is whereby you try brand new gimmicky stuff, trending stuff. Hopefully you be part of the conversation, and then you get some attention and people come to your website, right? Once you have all the proper channels, all the proper buttons and the links and stuff like that. But if you want to have a consistent flow of traffic that builds over time, you have to remember that you got to build something long term. So if today you are seeing your traffic going up and down, ask yourself, are you doing something that builds a community, that builds a follower, that builds people that really needs your services and will advocate your service to others? Are you doing something like that? Or are you just focusing on just short-term gimmick trends, advertisement, and hoping to have like a big surge of traffic, and then that's it when you don't pay the money? So always focus on something that can gain you long-term. I know it's not something that everybody is used to doing it, but definitely combine both so that you don't feel down that there are days where traffic are absolutely not coming. You have other things to rely on. So you have those two things that you can have at your play.
So I only have really 2 points. The first is, and this is a very simple one, it surprises me to this day, is that a lot of creators don't even tell people they have a storefront. They do a video and then they'll put the link to their storefront thinking that people will find it just because it's in their description, their comments. And the answer is people don't. I mean, how many times do you necessarily read the pinned comments or the description, right, as an ordinary viewer? So if you don't even tell people that you have a storefront, how are they going to find it? That's the first one. The second one is that when people do find your storefront, you have not convinced them to go further. Right, and this involves, you have not given people a reason. So even if you tell people to go and see the storefront, but in you telling them to go and see the storefront or the website or online store, whatever, you haven't given them a compelling reason, right? You never say why should I do it? What can I get out of it? Everybody has a mindset of what's in it for me, right? And so it's the same. They're going to apply that same one with your storefront. So this will mean that you need to essentially a sales or copywriting pitch that you need to do well. You make sure the design of the page is pretty decent. And of course, your offer needs to be good. So guys, that's it for part one. We actually have 2 parts. And looking forward to seeing you in the next part.